Hey, Kelsey, Norm MacDonald here. So, you have a podcast, huh? Fantastic. You know what I always say? You know what the world needs more of? Podcasts.
Live from the Screwball Whiskey Studios, the Kelsey Hudgins Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Live from the Screwball Whiskey Studios, indeed. That is SKREW, ballwhiskey.com. Tomorrow's stories begin right here. Hashtag get screwed, hashtag screw it forward. All other peanut butter whiskeys are posers. Screwball peanut butter whiskey is the one and only original peanut butter whiskey. Go and get yourself a couple bottles. You'll wish you had two if you only get one. And as always, drink Screwball whiskey responsibly. That's the way to do it. Truly. Hello, Jason. What's up, Chris? I figured out how to get the music to come through, but it was some weird way that I had to wire everything up. So now I know exactly when it stops. Isn't that great? So,
And one time at band camp?
How's it going, guys? So I don't know how your guys' week has been. Mine's been pretty effing weird. Good to see you guys. Mine's been pretty weird. Yeah, I had such a weird week. I didn't know how to feel about like where I am, you know. And I mean, I have nothing to be sad about, really. But I will always find a way. I'll always find a way. Like everything will just come crashing down on me all at once, and I'm just a ball of emotions. And then all of a sudden, it's just, yeah. What was me? This life. What have I done? But yeah, it's just at one thing after the other, and I don't know, man. I just can't. I don't know. Sometimes I can't get over how loud the negative thoughts are, you know. And I don't mean like super negative thoughts, like not anything serious. So don't freak out, but definitely like just thinking that I'm like in the way, you know, like kind of like I'm a bummer to be around because. And I guess it's because, now is as good a time as any to say that it's 12:36 right now. So in 23 hours and 23 minutes, ironically enough, In 23 hours and 23 minutes, I will be 6 years off the booze. I had my last alcoholic beverage 23 hours and 23 minutes ago, 6 years, or from now, 6 years ago. Wow. Did I say that didn't come out right? I am very high. California sober. I think that's what they call this. Also, it's worth noting that I have done this now 3 weeks in a row on a Sunday night at a pretty consistent rate, which is, from what I hear, like a streak, 21 days to create a habit. Is that the thing, or is it 28 days? Thank you, Jason. Yeah, exactly. It's just that's a good word for it. An intrusive thought, Chris. Like I have those. They just kind of get on my nerves, kind of weasel their way in, and it's just not ideal. But that's fine, and I cope with it pretty good. And I'm usually pretty good at like just shoving it into the background, and then it doesn't matter, you know. So once I got that, you know, got it all out of my head, so I don't have to worry about it no more. I can get a pretty good success rate on making people around me feel better. If that makes sense. I really enjoy doing that. Making other people have a better day or just feel better or whatever. That's a cool thing to do. By the way, you should do that. You should, at some point this week, you should do something nice for somebody, and don't ask for anything in return, and don't like post it on social media and brag about I just did this thing, or tell your friends about it, I just did this thing, because you kind of cheapen the blessing in that, you know. If you want to do something to bless somebody or something to like, and I don't want that you to have the religious tone behind me saying bless somebody, because I'm not trying to put a religious tone on it at all. I'm just using that as a term, and like when you do something kind for somebody, you know, like I don't want you to cheapen the deed, the good deed, you know, because no greater than a good deed that is done that no one knows, like, right? Something like that. I say that because of my Uncle Roger. My Uncle Roger passed away like right before I moved to Austin, and it was something that he would do. He would go and like help people. Like there was this story, exactly, blessings shouldn't come with a photo op, 100%. But this lady came up to my dad at the grocery store one day and said, "Aren't you Roger Hudgins' brother?" And he said, "Yes." And she said, "I was out in my yard." This old lady. "I was out in my yard raking leaves one day, and he pulled up and parked his truck in front of her yard, pulled a rake off the back of his truck, helped her rake the rest of her yard, and then just introduced himself to her and drove off. And that's just something that he did." And she was like, she told my dad that was a really cool thing. And like, it was just so many stories of that. Like he did stuff like that all the time that people would say like, "Well, yeah, I was doing this and this, and then Roger showed up and, you know, it just got done." And people always told stories about that, but you wonder how many happen that, you know, he didn't tell any of those stories. It was all other people saying this stuff. But you wonder how many times that happens where he had that kind of impact on people. And I saw and this is kind of, I guess it's on my mind, and I've always used these as a vent, so sorry. It's not going to be like this for much longer. I'll just get this thought out and, moving right along. But I learned at his funeral by how he impacted so many people. And I have his, whatever the little pamphlet, the little piece of paper they give you at the funeral home. What are those things called? That has a little picture in there and the shit on the inside. Whatever those things are called. I have that in my guitar case. And every time I pick up my guitar case, I see like his big old smiling face looking up at me. And it's been there since I played at his funeral. And I just think about the impact that he had on so many people that really they didn't find out about until after he had died. A lot of those stories didn't come out until then. So I thought, man, what if everybody else in the world could have that kind of impact on somebody else, or at least everybody that I could reach? What if everybody that I could reach, or even just a percentage who would actually do that? Like I take it as like a challenge of sorts, is like to do something nice for somebody every week. And you can limit it to every week. You could do it more often if you'd like, but I would just say start simple. Do something nice for someone every week. Someone that you see in need of assistance in any way or help, or, in some way to where you could see someone having a bad day and turn that into a good day. Like, do everything you can to turn whatever situation you may see them in into something positive, and don't say anything to anybody about it. Keep that in you. You know what I mean? Like, don't share that beyond that. Like, let that fill you up, like with just, there's a feeling that you get when you do stuff like that you can't really get elsewhere, like I said, like a lot, I feel. Nathan Ramos in the house. That's the goal, man. You want to be a better person this year than last year. And I try my damnedest, dude, to be a better person today than yesterday. I always try to do that. And I'm pretty successful for the most part. But some days, which is what I was getting to at the beginning of this podcast, some of those days are harder than others, man. Like, some days I want everybody who comes in contact with me to just walk away floating, just be in such a good mood to just literally just float away from me when they walk away. I want that to be how I affect people. But other days, when I don't feel that way and I'm not able to produce that kind of energy that I usually put out, and I do put that energy out a lot, but when I'm not able to on a regular basis, man, it's such a letdown for the people around me. And I get the feeling that, like, oh man, people, we don't like this Yonder. We don't like this version of Yonder. And I can feel them not wanting to be around me when I'm feeling that way. And just, it's obvious. And that breaks my heart, because I'm like, if this is who I really am on the inside, then is everything else that I've done just a facade that you like? So that means that you don't like who I really am on the inside deep down, but you can tolerate the version that I show you to make more palatable for the people of the world. Is that that's the kind of things that I think. And I have a hard time, and I struggle all the time with with those kind of thoughts. And when people normally say struggling with thoughts, they're referring to thoughts that make them want to hurt themselves or things like that. And that's not what I'm saying. I don't want anybody to misconstrue that. I just have thought like discouraging moments, discouraging times. And everybody has that. Everybody has that. The only thing is that, and not to pin any roses on myself, but not everybody has the kind of everyday effect on people that I do. And it would be foolish of me not to realize that I change people's day. And I do. When it's a goal of mine, and I can see it work all the time, and just saying a few kind words to somebody and just moving on and watching them have a better day than they were having. Like, I do this all the time. So when I'm not able to do that, and you realize that people kind of rely on that sort of energy, it makes me feel like, do I just have to keep, and it's not a role. I do believe everything that I say to people, like, you're doing a good job, or you look good today. You look healthy. You look happy. Like just saying things like that to people, like manifesting things like this in their lives that I actually believe. It's easier to sell when you believe it. And I believe it. That makes sense to some people. Maybe I'm just rambling high. But the long of the short is that when you don't feel so good and you have that kind of emotional attachment to so many people, they don't take so kindly to that, I don't think. They want the yonder that they know and see all the time that brings everybody up. They don't want to see the guy who's unsure of himself or lacks confidence or is just terrified that everybody around him is over him. Like, because that's what I think. I'm like, man, it was cool when I got to Austin. Everybody was stoked to have me here, but now the newness has worn off, so to speak, and it's not new anymore. And I'm just another guy from here, and it's like these things where you like, and this isn't the best analogy, but it's an analogy that I'm familiar with because I was watching the story the other day. Curtis Flood, who was a black professional baseball player in the early days of desegregated baseball, and he played for the Cleveland Indians, and he told a story about how when he was playing in the major leagues, and Nick's great to see you. He was playing in the major leagues, and he was playing a doubleheader. And after the doubleheader, they would have to take their uniforms off, throw them in a big pile. They would take the pile, wash the uniforms, bring them back. So anyway, he threw his uniform in the same pile as the other white players, and a guy came with a stick with a nail on the end of it, picked his uniform out, took it to the colored cleaners on the other side of town to have them there was about a 20-minute drive outside of town, and then bring his uniform back. He was late for the game, sitting in there waiting. He said he was stark naked, sitting in the locker room, waiting for the uniform to come back. And whenever the uniform came back and he walked onto the field for the second game, he said they called him every name except for a child of God. And he was talking to the owner of the team about this. And he said, well, are you guys having a good time here at the games, this or whatever? I can't remember the series that it was. It was some sort of division series or something, or maybe an all-star game. But he was like, do you not know that they have me and all the other black players staying at another hotel on the other side of town, like and the owner was like unaware of that to that point. So he made this statement that I was going to reference, and I had to tell that whole story to reference, was sometimes you can segregate yourself into the back seat of a limousine and not realize it. But you just, because in his sense, and the reason that this was a fuzzy analogy to make is just because of the subject matter, it being like racial discrimination, and that's not what I'm trying to say in any sense. I'm just trying to say that sometimes you can, in your mind, put yourself so far down to not realize where you really are according to where you once were. And in that sense, for Curt Flood, in his words, I believe he was meaning that he was playing in a series game for a major league team, which was his dream, a dream that was impossible when he was a kid because they didn't even play in the same league together. So for him, he had achieved all the things that, most people would want, except for the one most awful thing, obviously. And by the way, the owner of the Cleveland Indians then built a hotel room that was desegregated and would allow all Cleveland Indian players to stay in the same place. That was a really kind of a long story to just make the one analogy of sometimes you can just segregate yourself to the back of a limousine and not be able to like fully grasp the gravity of where you are currently. And I think that's what's happened to me, or what is happening to me. I love you back, Nick. I see you said that at the end, but I wanted to get that out because I'm really stoned and I didn't want to miss that complete thought. But yeah, I think that's what's happened to me. I think I have just grown complacent in my life at a higher level than I once was used to, at a much higher level now. This is crazy. Like, the only thing that is different in my life, that the only thing that I had back home that I don't have here is a steady stream of a lot of money coming in on a weekly basis. But then again, to think about all of the things that I'm getting to experience while I'm here not making as much money is worth every penny that I am losing to not be back home doing gigs in Myrtle Beach. Man, my life is crazy right now. And I thought, I said the other day when I was in the middle of my pit, I was talking to Mumford Davis, my best friend, Mumford Davis. And I said, I thought moving here would fix it. I thought like getting out of my comfort zone, coming to a place where I didn't know how it was going to go. I don't know, man. I thought it would solve all of my like depression and just like sadness and shit. I thought it would fix all of that. But I know that it takes more than just that. I'm going to have to just learn how to like unpack my thoughts properly and sort them properly, because sometimes I'll overreact at the dumbest things that don't matter, or the opinions of people who don't matter. And I have a hard time with not focusing on the speck of dust. What's up, Gunther? because generally that's all it is. It's a speck of dust. I don't normally have a lot of planks in my eye, as the biblical reference would reference, but yeah, I just the speck of dust sometimes drives me crazy, and I hate that. And I'll focus on things that don't even matter. But I wonder, and I think about this too because I hear a lot of comedians talk all the time. Like, I wonder if that's just the thing that I need to keep my edge. You know, the little edge that a creative person needs. Not necessarily a comedian, but certainly a comedian too. But is that what it is? Do I just need to hang on to just feeling shitty sometimes? Just to keep that growl about me, you know? Oh, Nick BK and Gunther. I was thinking about you earlier, Nick. Can't remember what it was, but I heard something or saw something or read something and thought about you. Anyway. That being said, I decided yesterday that I was just going to be in a good mood. I decided I was going to have a good time and enjoy shit. And man, it worked. A lot of people around me were lifted up. Got to see some cool shit go down. Got some decent exercise in, breaking down the entire floor twice. We broke it down Friday and set it back up in its entirety Saturday when we got to work, and then broke it down again Saturday night, and then brought everything back in at the end of the show. Yeah, it's how we let it affect our day that matters. You're correct. Yeah, that's the thing, is like, you wouldn't, if you stretch out all 24 hours of your day and all of the hours where things go fine, you will ignore for the few seconds that it doesn't go fine. If you were to look at this on paper, that would seem foolish. Correct? So, I forgot what I was talking about up until that point. Probably wasn't important. But yeah, man. Oh, yeah. Setting up and tearing down the bar. Dude, so for you that don't know, yeah, I appreciate that, Jason. And same to you, man. It's something that not a lot of folks know about the whole comedy door guy thing. Like, yes, most of the stuff I post about is telling people to be quiet during the show or whatever, or having to kick people out for talking or heckling the comic, all of that nonsense. But there's other shit too. Like, at the end of the night, we have to clear all the empty drink cups or half full drink cups or full beers and all this nonsense off of the tables, stack up all of the chairs, sweep, mop, take out all of the trashes and replace all of the trash bags and all the cans and have them stacked and ready to go out for the next day, and so much other stuff. And before the shift starts, we have to get the phone bags, the yonder bags ready. We have to get the wristbands ready and set up the whole ropes for the line to come in, all of this stuff. So this is all basically the outside of, like, on the floor job that we do. And on the floor, I mean, like when the show's happening and we're all at our designated stations or wherever we're supposed to be to make sure that people aren't talking or heckling. There's a lot of work that goes into that sometimes. And we have seating on the floor for 350 people upstairs and downstairs. So on any given night, and like Friday and Saturday were both sold out shows. So on Friday we had to clear the entire floor, 350 top floor, for a frat party, which means a frat house, a fraternity rented out the entire bar for a private party. And we had to just clean up after all these fucking ungrateful pieces of shit. Like, it was fucking awful. So, after that, one thing I will say about having the floor clear, it's a bitch to do, but it makes cleaning up pretty easy. Because you can like drop sweep, like the drop broom, the big broom. You could like sweep up pretty quickly that way with that. And it's easy to mop because you don't have to go between chairs and shit. So that's a lot easier. But it sucks to clean up when people are puking. Now I'll say this, Mason Smith is a guy that works. He's a comic here. He works with us at Vulcan. He was like, the other day, he was like, oh man, these pieces of shit's done puked in here twice, and I done cleaned it up twice. And it was pretty funny the way he was like describing it now that I think about it. But he was running around cleaning up shit all night, and I was like, fucking dude, that's awesome, dude, good shit. Because I was just standing at the door clicking people in or clicking people out. You know, whoever, anytime somebody would come in, just for the fire marshal, you have to make sure you have an idea of how many people are in the building, and so that we don't go over capacity. Anyway, it was kind of fucked up. These guys literally just made a mess all through the bar. We had to clean up, and it's still a little easier to clean. The climate is so different out here that my sinuses just are like, I get these boogers that just stick on the inside of my nose. Like, obviously that's where boogers come from, the inside of your nose, but I don't like it aggravates the shit out of me, man. I can't even concentrate. But that was a random rant. But having these kids come in there, it was a good money night, so it ended up being worth it in the end. And the next night, like that night, I was just miserable. I was not in a good mood that night. I didn't like having to deal with that shit. Like those fucking, I think very highly of myself as an artist and just as a person. I feel like I'm a person that deserves fucking respect. And when I don't get that, I don't really have much respect for the person I don't get it from. And I don't care what that makes me sound like, because I don't do things to people that should result in them not respecting me. And anytime somebody comes in, and it's especially like these kids that know nothing about the world yet, that are still in college, and they come in and they just act like you're their fucking servant because you work at a place that their fraternity can afford to rent out, that kind of puts me in a not so good mood. And I felt that energy from a lot of those people. And it's not their fault. They don't know who I am or who I will be. And I'm sure that they'd feel very foolish if they could see me 5 years from now and know that I'm that guy. But it's those things that is a speck of dust in the grand scheme of things. But I let it ruin my whole week almost. So that's what I was about to get to, Jason. That was Friday night. Saturday night was a Lucas McCrary show. Lucas McCrary put on a pretty good show this past Saturday, a sold-out show. And, dude, people stayed the whole time. And it was a solid outing. Anyway, after that, we had a ticketed EDM event that was coming in. So that was a fully sold out show. 320 to 340 people in the house. And we had to flip the entire floor. Like, there were, I think, out of all the tables that we have, and we've probably got, I don't know, 4 seats at a table, literally 4 seats at a table, and we can pack in 350 people minus maybe the 50 stools that are at the bar. So we could pack in however much. Do the math. I'm not doing the math. So we had to clear that many tables, that many chairs, that many stools off the entire floor. And that was a pretty good workout. I was feeling it the next day because we had to do it 2 days in a row. So today, my back is kind of killing me. But, man, the EDM shows were cool. The energy of the people that came to the show were cool. It was, I mean, it's not my kind of music anymore. It used to be. I used to listen to that shit when I was doing acid and Molly, like candy flipping all the time. But it was pretty cool compared to the nights where there's sometimes and this is nothing against the DJs that we have, because they're good, but it's just sometimes, dude, there'll be DJs that come in to do sets after comedy, and we open to the public, and we get maybe 2, maybe 3 dozen people that come in and out throughout the course of the night, and usually people just walk in and walk back out. So there's that. But yeah, and that, like I said, it's nothing against the DJs because they do a good job. It's just I don't know what it is that the promotion, like you got to promote that it's going to be happening. Speaking of promoting that it's going to be happening, I'm actually going to be playing the Vulcan this Friday night after the Paul Verzi show. So I need to put that on the old interwebs here in a minute after I get done doing this. And that's definitely a thing that needs to happen. I'm really excited about doing it too, man. These Vulcan shows get crazy, especially like we'll open to the public, and after advertising it for a week, it should have a pretty good turnout because everybody knows where it is, and you don't have to pay to get in, and there's not a lot of times where people can just come in and, you know, for free. So just being inside the building for free is a thing I think some people would do. So, yeah. And I'll be there from the end of the second Paul Verzi show until we fucking close, dog. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm also, and I know that this one might not have been the greatest content for the listener, quote unquote listener, now or in the future, but sometimes I need to use these things, and this is one of those episodes where I need to use this to just vent, to just get shit out of my mind, stuff that I just am holding and carrying with me. I need to let go of these things, and this is my way of doing that. And for some of you who have never listened to any of the old episodes of the podcast that I've done, I encourage you to go back. If you ever get bored and you want to dig a little bit, go back and listen to some of the old episodes of the MI stuff. I interviewed a lot of my cool friends back then, but a lot of my solo episodes, sometimes I would just have a guitar. I would finger pick like guitar music while I would just talk and unload shit. But that's sort of the point of this podcast for me, historically, was to get shit off of my chest so that I didn't have to carry it around with me. And like I said, this episode is a great example of that. But yeah, I'm comfortably slipping in to it being less, I don't want to say less depressed, because I feel like I'm always going to have a certain level of that. I'm feeling comfortably slipping into contentment. And I don't mean that in like a settling. I'm settling for something. I'm content. But to mean that I will be content no matter my situation. Like, no matter what my situation is, I'm going to be cool with it. Because I'm an adult now, and I have to learn how to do that. Yes, I have to lay my burdens down somewhere, 100%. But I have to be comfortable enough and mature enough about a situation to say, if this is how it is, this is how it is. If I can affect it, great. If I can't, then move on. I have to learn that. And another thing that I have to learn how to accept my process and not constantly hold it up against other people's processes. And by that I mean, I look down on myself a lot because I don't go and hit open mics like a lot of people do. I don't go and hang out. I don't put in FaceTime outside of work hours a lot. Unless folks come over to my house and hang out with me, I don't really do a lot of hanging out. So I put myself down a little bit because that's just how I am. But that's how I've always been. Like ever since I stopped drinking, I wasn't much for like hanging out and not being home. Like, I just enjoyed being home. And even back in the day before I really started drinking, and I was just living with my roommates, they would always go out and chill, but I would always stay at the house. You know, I would always want to just be home. And that's just kind of how I am. And it's like, I don't want people to think anything of it, but I will look down on myself for being who I am sometimes. And I need to be more comfortable and confident in who I am, because I'm always going to be that person. And I got to figure out a way to, grow up and get over just putting myself down when I want an excuse to feel shitty. And I can always find an excuse. But that's what it'll be. It'll be an excuse. It won't be a legitimate gripe. It'll just be something that irks me. That's not that big of a deal. But yeah. I feel like We are 100% in control of our emotions, but sometimes it's like you can entertain something for a minute when it feels good. Like if you have an itch and you scratch it, it feels good to scratch it, and it feels good to keep scratching it. But the longer you do that, you end up like growing. You'll scratch yourself into having a rash, and then you will be addicted to just reaching to that part, like that itch to scratch, and then now you are just dealing with this thing that once felt good to do, but now you're tied to it. And sometimes that's how putting yourself into a victim's mindset can be. It's something that feels good to start with, and it's like this is the thing that I was needed. This feels good. But then you continue to do it, and then it becomes a rash. And now you're addicted to messing with it. So a lot of people who might say, oh, well, you might think that you can just change your attitude and your mindset just by shifting your perception a little bit. But some people who have real mental illnesses might not can do that. As to suggest that I don't. I don't think anybody could watch any episode of this fucking podcast that I've ever recorded and think that I don't have some kind of mental illness, dog. So if I can shift myself out of it, anybody can. I'm not that special, dude. I'm really not. I'm just a regular dude that took a lot of drugs apparently in my formative years, and figured out that sometimes just putting yourself in a different mindset can help you feel a lot better. I'm not saying I'm great at it all the time. This past week was evidence of that. But man, I don't know. I'm just rambling now at this point. I should just end this. I should have ended this thing 15 minutes ago. What's up, Lonesome Lenny? Yeah, I don't know, man. This week's going to be better. This is going to be a good week. Just a lot of shit's been slowly, it's like a roller coaster that's slowly been ticking and ticking and ticking. And when you get right at the top of the roller coaster before you come down that lift, you know, you get that weird uneasy feeling like, oh my God, this is it. This is where it's going to happen. And you have that instant rush of real fear, like real terror. And then like mixed with all kinds of excitement and just not knowing and all of this. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm at the top of the lift, and it's clicking up, and I'm right at the top, and I'm about to go down that roller coaster, and I don't know how long it's going to come down for. I don't know where it's going to stop, but I know that I've been clicking up for a long time, dog. So wherever this thing starts tipping, there ain't no telling how far it's going to go. But we're about to find out. So we'll see. Oh man, you know, I caught the COVID twice in a span of 6 weeks. I caught it at the end of or at the beginning of November, and I caught it for Christmas when I went home. So I had it twice in a short amount of time, and the second time was not that bad. A couple of days sucked, but the first time was not fun. It was not fun for about 3 or 4 days. But other than that, man, I found that I recovered pretty good, and I'm fat, so I imagine you wouldn't have that much trouble. Anyway, before we defile ourselves for too much longer in this one, let's go ahead and put a nice little bow on this one. And I'll go ahead and tell you that, if you guys want to see me this week, Friday night in real life, IRL, I will be at the Vulcan Gas Company, and that'll start somewhere around 11:30, 11:45, midnight, somewhere around there. So we'll see what time that'll be starting. I think I'm going to advertise from midnight on. So if you want to get there early, by all means, swing on by. And as soon as the show's over, I'll open the doors and let you in. Storm, I appreciate you being here. Thank everybody for hanging out with me during this doozy of an episode here. I appreciate you. Also, I have put on TikTok. I'm doing the TikTok thing now. Riding that coaster, dog. Doing the TikTok thing now. Yonder Wizard on TikTok. Adding music, and I just put a song on there today that I played. I set up this phone situation in my bathroom, which is where I smoke. And I was just doing that all day today on TikTok and messing around with that. So I'm doing that. Obviously, follow me all over on social media. All of you guys probably already do for sure. Yonder Wizard, ZZERD, everywhere. Subscribe to this channel. Like this video. Or dislike it. I don't care. Just click a button. Just click some buttons. And if you don't feel like clicking a few buttons, share it. If you don't, who cares? I don't mind either way. It's not going to hurt my feelings if you don't. Or if you do. I'm going to feel the same way about you. Anyway, I'm always reminding you to drink delicious Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey, SKREW Ball Whiskey. I realized I didn't hang up my Screwball flag that I usually have behind me when I started, but I kind of threw this thing together. There's all kinds of Screwball stuff around my room. My Screwball bag is here and over here behind me. Maybe you can see it. You see it? No, you can't see it through the chair. Anyway. SKREWBallWhiskey.com. Tomorrow's stories begin right here. Hashtag get screwed. Hashtag screw it forward. All other peanut butter whiskeys are posers. Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey is the one and only original peanut butter whiskey. Go and get yourself a couple bottles. You'll wish you had two if you want to get one. And as always, drink Screwball Whiskey responsibly. Maybe watch a little HBO Max, drift off to sleep. Another wonderful week at the Vulcan Gas Company. Monday, Kill Tony. Tuesday, Wednesday, Joe Rogan. Thursday, Death Squad Secret Show. And Friday, Saturday, Paul Verzi. 4 shows. 2 Friday, 2 Saturday. And after the Friday show will be yours truly, Yonder, live in the flesh, playing songs for you. And then Saturday night, DJ Moody after Paul Verzi. So that's happening this week. If you want to come hang out, come hang out. Anyway, in a world full of shitty people, don't be one of those people. Be a good person. Peace, bitches.